Welcome to Binging with Bacchus today. We're going to binge in ways that we haven't done before. First of all, we're binging with champagne in the afternoon. You know, it's almost 5 o'clock, and so it's almost 4:20, so we have rights. I'd like to introduce to you today Dr. Larry Munch, a surgeon, and he's been a professor of medicine most of his life, and he is very, very good as a chef. Well, as a chef and a person that drinks with us, a few of us call him Pastor Larry. So on TV, he's Pastor Larry. And he's going to tell you what he's putting together today, and then I'm going to tell you how I'm going to pair up with it. Welcome.
Thank you, Randall. So today I want to pay homage to the Italian-American immigrants who have had a tremendous influence on the foods that we eat. Here, as we are in the pandemic, where we're unable to really go out, we're trying to take advantage of the foods that we do have here in the early summer. So tonight I'd like to kind of go through basic modifications of Italian food as the Italian immigrants came to America. So we're going to start with a homemade pasta, an egg pasta that we'll probably make into fettuccine, as you will see how it's cut. We're going to have a variation of another Italian-American dish, chicken parmesan, chicken parmigiana, which will be made instead of with just Parmesan cheese. We'll use the same chicken cutlets, which we will pre-cook in a sous vide to keep it good and tender and juicy. We're going to make a variation of the muffalata sandwich that has been made famous in New Orleans, which is giardiniera, which is pickled carrots and celery and cauliflower, olives, capers, garlic, roasted red peppers. We'll put that together, and that will create a sauce on top. And like the muffalata, we will have several of the Italian salamis, prosciutto di Parma, and top it with a provolone instead of the typical Parmesan cheese for the Parmigiana, and a homemade tomato sauce where we will build the flavors as a true tomato sauce would be made. So really looking forward to that with the fresh garden vegetables that Randall has picked from his garden.
So Larry, I'm trying to put together a salad today that is going to complement what you're doing, but also have a few ingredients so it can stand on its own.
That's exactly how you would plan on making a meal, so that one type of flavor is playing off another, whether it be an acidity, whether it be a tartness, saltiness, and I think that that is an excellent idea because we will have a fairly salty meal with the tapenade and the various things in the tomatoes, so to have something to offset some of that is an excellent idea.
So the way I make salads is I toss each ingredient one at a time. So I start with a little bit of garlic, and I will put it in the bottom of this bowl. Then I'll put some salt on it to get it to bleed a little bit. I will add some olive oil. Then usually we do lemons, but today we're doing a lime so that we allow this to have a little bit different taste so that the salad will stand on its own and still complement this wonderful dish that we're going to be eating of Larry's. Then the next thing that I do is I add the balsamic vinegar, and this is an aged, old, very thick balsamic, so you won't need a lot of it, but it's going to be wonderful. Then we will add a red onion. Notice how the red onion is probably not as tall as it is wide. If you get onions that are red and they are tall, then they have smaller layers down below. And that's what you want to get, so that you cut very fine layers. And then we will add to it one ingredient each at a time. We might add a little Worcestershire sauce so that we get some of that anchovy taste in. And then we will add peppers. These are all from my garden, as you saw. We will add some of these radishes. And then I like to add a little bit of peas. This could be a full meal, actually. Some zucchini. And then the herbs that I'm using today are very simple. We have a black basil. We have a traditional basil. I thought it'd be really good to put a little bit of sage in here because the sage will give it an earthiness. So it will go well with like a Nebbiolo wine. And then we'll have some parsley. Two different kinds of parsleys, curly parsley and Italian parsley. And then I'm throwing in just a little bit of cilantro. So again, you have a variation in taste, but they will work well with one another. Then at the very end, we're going to put some Parmesan cheese grated on top of it. We like to do that very freely. To give it that richness of Italian taste, I thought we could put in tomatoes near the end, but we'll put in some sun-dries. That will make it a little bit more rich, and it'll taste more like the Italian dish in that kind of pasta sauce manner. Finally, I just thought it would be fun to add some artichoke hearts. Then in the process of putting each ingredient in one at a time, along with the herbs, I am going to put in some antipasti and some prosciutto. Then it'll have that rich taste. Finally, arugula from the garden and romaine lettuce from the garden. So I hope that these complement each other and this becomes one hell of a dinner.
I'm sure it will. Thanks, Randall.
So Larry, what's the next step in what you are going to do?
So the first thing I thought we would do today is make a traditional Italian egg pasta. There's many ways that you can do that, but the basic ingredients are flour and eggs. You can add other herbs to that, but we're going to go with a more traditional. And for expediency purposes, I'm going to do the initial mix in a stand mixer, and then I will do the final knead to allow the dough to come together, and we'll wrap it so that it can rest for an hour to fully hydrate and get ready to do further kneading that will be done as we roll the pasta out later. So to start, I've got double O Caputo superfine Italian flour. You can use all-purpose flour. Because I want this to be a little heavier, I am adding 2-3 cups of this flour, about 2 tablespoons of vital gluten. It just gives a little extra body so that it will stand up to the sauce. And to that, I'm going to add 4 eggs, and we're just going to go and mix that into the mixer, bring it together for 3 to 5 minutes. And once that's done, we'll do a quick knead before we let it rest and hydrate.
Well, I guess this is not for the gluten-free crowd.
Traditional Italian food would be very difficult to accomplish that, but there are ways that you can make pasta gluten-free. We have tried it, and it's amazing some of the things that you actually can do these days with the various flours, thickeners that are out on the market.
So, as Julia Childs would ask, so what are you doing next as you're putting together this pasta?
So once this is done getting ready, we'll do a quick mix of these giardiniera, olives, capers, fresh roasted red peppers, parsley, red wine vinegar, olive oil, and a little bit of salt. That will get ready. It needs to marinate while the dough is resting, and then we can start on the sauce.
So that is what we're doing so far. And I can guarantee you today, folks, none of us is going to be shocked.
Okay.
Now, Pastor Larry is going to tell you what to do with the rough and shaggy mix of flour and egg.
You need to get it to knead until it's as smooth as a baby's bottom. It can take 5 minutes or so to do it. It's okay, you do not overwork this dough. It's going to continually be kneaded later on. But basically, kneading this is very similar to other breads and other doughs. It's It's a good workout because you really do need about 2 hands to do it. Rotate quarter, roll through, and we'll do this about 4 or 5 minutes until it's very soft, and we'll see how that looks.
Having such a great garden, we are able to gather all the vegetables and herbs we need for salads all year long.
So now it's time to put together the beginnings of the salad. The first thing we do is we put garlic in the bottom of the bowl. I like to put a little salt on top so it can bleed. Then you put in a little bit of olive oil. And I use the old-fashioned way of just mixing it together with my spoons. So we have the garlic, we have the olive oil. Now it's time for a little lime. So we're going to squeeze it with these lime or lemon squeezers, and it has done a great job. I'm not even going to use the whole lime now because it gave me so much lime. That's going to add some acidity. Then we will put in the onion, the red onion. It's really nice. It's pretty fine. Add some texture. Then we will add a few sun-dried tomatoes because we want to have that rich taste, that rich tomato taste. So then we'll toss them in. We'll put in a little bit of balsamic. You see how slowly it's coming out? Because it is so thick that you have to really shake it. Then we toss it. A little bit of Worcestershire. And you know, I leave my garlic and salt and olive oil sitting for 3 or 4 hours usually before I add other ingredients. So now we have our major foundational flavors going on. We're going to add some peppers that'll differentiate it from the typical Italian taste. 2 different kinds of peppers from the garden. A red pepper, and they call it a Christmas pepper because it has different colors in it. I'm going to add the basil, and I'm keeping them in whole pieces because I've noticed lately that it really adds a lot to the salad. Now I'm going to add the 2 different kinds of parsleys. We'll add a little bit of cilantro just to give it that really nice flavor. So we're putting in the flavor profiles first. Then we will add the various things slowly. I am going to put in the radishes because the radishes from the garden are going to give a lot of flavor profile too. Plus, you don't want them to be too hard when you taste them. That's why sometimes I'll put in things like carrots, but I'll put them in earlier so they break down a little bit because things are cooking right now in the oil. Next thing I'll put in are the peas from the garden. Just a little bit of peas, okay? And we'll leave these for a couple hours, let them marinate together. And one ingredient that I added was we're going to have olives, just green olives, not calamatas, because we don't want the exact flavor profiles, but this will begin to build bridges with the main course. After that, I will then put in the zucchini during the last hour. I will put in some tomatoes in a few minutes, and I will chop up this sage very fine so that we begin to have some of the earthy flavors that go with that. So I forgot to cut it, but there you go. Everything is ready to go, and the final thing we will put in also later on after the olives are capers. Capers are great in a salad, And then I'm going to saute some mushrooms and put them on the top at the very end so that they add a little bit of flavor and texture to the salad.
We now have our pasta. It's rolled and dried, and we're going to cut it into fettuccine. It's about 1/4 of an inch wide. Tagliatelle is about 3/8 of an inch. Pappardelle, same exact pasta, somewhere about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. So we just are going to take our rolled dry pastas that we've rolled up roughly into 1/4 of an inch. This is a very easy way to make pastas. And we will have, as we get through here, just sort of as an example of what we will have as this gets opened up. We will now have our pasta ready to go. And when we finish this up, we'll put it in the boiling salted water, and we will have that ready to go.
So now, as we wait for this chicken and this pasta and these sauces that go with them, we can't wait to taste it, but we need to get the salad ready. So what we are going to do is we are going to throw in some kale. Bam! Don't sue me, Emerald. I know you got that word down. Bam! Another thing I want to tell you is I put some tarragon into the salad because I thought it would give it a little more accent. We've got a lot of acids and a lot of flavors, a lot of spices. So now we put in the romaine. Finally, we are going to throw in the arugula. I love arugula. All these things grow in my garden, and I thought the kale would be good because it would give us a little bit of texture, a little crunchiness to the salad. So the salad's ready to go. We are ready for Pastor Larry to show us his glory. Bon appetit. Right, Larry?
We're going. Go for it. So our final step, we have cooked our sous vide chicken. It's well cooked, seasoned, moist. I've cut them in half horizontally. We have an egg flour dip to help with the sauce. A little panko with onion and others. We're going to saute these briefly on either side just to brown it. We'll do 2 at a time, don't overload the pan because these don't take very long to cook. So we're going to set these in, let those cook a couple of minutes each side. Try not to mess with them too much. Oh, these are going to be good. So we have our chicken breast done. Just lightly browned on both sides. Chicken is fully cooked because we did it in the sous vide. So we don't have to overcook it or underestimate ourselves. And with each of these, we're going to top it with our olive tamponade that we made a little earlier. Again, this is a little unique kind of a flavor, but I think it's going to be really wonderful with the acidity and the olive oil. And this again is based off of the New Orleans muffalata, kind of that, and the chicken parmesan. And on top of that, 3 kinds of salamis, prosciutto, capicola, and on top is our provolone cheese. We're just going to throw this under the broiler for a couple of minutes just to kind of lightly brown. We will have our pasta ready to go, and we will have a wonderful dinner.
The salads are now plated and ready to be put on the table.
Cook the pasta. Fresh pasta is nice. It only takes 2 or 3 minutes. And as you hear on every cooking show, you want this to be salty as the sea. Oil is a sin. Rapid boil. We have our pasta to go in. If it's spaghetti or whatever, you don't want to cut it up, but you do want to get, in that first minute or so, stir it so that it doesn't stick to the bottom and stick together. That's the key with any of these pastas. And as it only needs 2 to 3 minutes to go, we'll take that out. Always save a little bit of the water, because when we mix the pasta with our sauce, this will help glaze and bring that sauce to stick to this pasta. So our pasta's been cooking about 3 minutes. We've tasted it, it's al dente. Easiest way, we've got the sauce warmed up here. Actually, we're getting a little of that wonderful water as we speak. And we'll start stirring this in. Again, you want to have that sauce meld with the pasta. And a little extra water will help it to glaze. This is why we made this as a kind of a heavier duty pasta, to be able to withstand this sauce and this manipulation, because you can be very delicate with these. So we'll work for this for another few seconds and it'll be ready to plate. So we have our final meal here. To finish it off, we have some fresh Parmigiano Reggiano. And I think this is going to be one of the dinners to make us happy. Thank you to our Italian, French, and other immigrants. Bon appetit.
And of course, what would a dinner be without wine? So, with our salad course, we are going to start out with a Mumm Napa Chardonnay from Carneros. Then, our second bottle is going to be a Marchese di Barolo, 2008 Barolo, and it'll go really well with all these Italian flavors. How many people noticed that there were a lot of French techniques going on tonight? So we have to have a French wine. And the final wine we are going to have tonight is a 1988 Chateau Margaux. A first growth, according to the classifications of 1855, Chateau Margaux, 1988. I think we'll have a great time.
Thank
Cheers.
you all and have a good evening.
Cheers.